Okay, let's just gulp. What? I know what you did last summer. Wait, what did I do last summer? Like, I graduated college, and then I didn't attend the graduation ceremony because my college was arresting protesters. So, I mean, if that's what you're talking about, that's that's pretty. I don't know. That's pretty gross of you to come after me for something like that. No, not that. I support your decision. Oh, well, okay then. What are you talking about then? Oh, you know what? Are you talking about that time where I hit that guy while driving and then just to make sure that he was actually dead, like for real, I backed over him several times? Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, that. Well, well, you should have started with that then. All right, welcome to the video where I talk about all of the I Know What You Did Last Summer movies because the new one's coming out. And we have to start somewhere, so that means starting with the original I Know What You Did Last Summer from 1997.
What are you waiting for, huh? What are you waiting for?
So basically, what I have to say is I kind of understand why they're making a new one, but also at the same time, I kind of don't understand why they're making a new one. Basically, what I'm saying is I don't think this franchise needed to be revived. We've had plenty of revivals over the years, Scream kind of being the closest, I guess. And Scream to me makes sense because it's a very sort of meta kind of franchise. So, of course, you know, when you see reboots and remakes all the time, it makes sense for a Scream movie to comment on that. I Know What You Did Last Summer, however, I mean, it did come during the Scream era where a lot of influences were happening because of Scream. However, this movie isn't that special. Like, it's good, but it's also just a slasher. And really, I do believe that there are only two reasons that people kind of appreciate and like this movie. I mean, I'm sure there are other people that, you know, like it for other reasons, but in my mind, there are really two key aspects that makes I Know What You Did Last Summer kind of stand out above some of the other slashers because, you know, slashers tend to be somewhat generic. This one isn't really that big of an exception to that. It does follow very similar patterns, but what I will say is that those two key aspects being the cast and the killer are kind of what help it stand out a little bit. Now, what I mean by that is, well, look at the cast. Like, come on now. That the whole reason this movie works is because of the main characters and who they're played by. I mean, you got Jennifer Love Hewitt, you got Sarah Michelle Gellar, you got Freddie Prinze Jr., you got what's his name from Big Bang Theory, you got Ryan Phillippe or something. He's the other guy. There are four main characters, and that's Sarah Michelle Gellar, Jennifer Love Hewitt, Freddie Prinze Jr., and Ryan Phillippe. Those are the four main characters. A lot of slashers just throw in a bunch of characters just for slaughter. This one is kind of really only the four, and then you have a couple of red herrings, which you need in a movie like this. But like I said, the killer is also one of the aspects that kind of makes this movie stand out a little bit. The fisherman, I think, is a good design. I like his little fishing hat. I like his coat, which I think is called like a slicker or something. I like his outfit. I like his look. He's got the hook, which is fine. It's a good weapon for a slasher to have. But in this movie, it ends up being a little bit of a detriment. And the reason for that is because the kills aren't that special or unique. And for a slasher, you know, you kind of want some fun kills. And I'm not saying that all the kills are bad. I'm just saying that they're all pretty much the same thing. This movie also isn't that graphic, which is fine. It does not have to be. But if you are someone that enjoys cool kills in movies, that's not really what you're gonna get here. That being said, I don't think this movie is that bad. I think it's fairly middle of the road, like a good, enjoyable watch. Again, I think the cast really is what makes that happen. But there are other elements here that help too. Like, I think the setup, the premise for this whole ordeal is very fun. I like the idea that, you know, this group of teenagers is, you know, they cause some terrible thing and then they choose to keep it a secret because, well, we don't want to get in trouble. They hit a man while driving because Ryan Phillippe's character is drunk, so he makes the other guy, Freddie Prinze Jr.'s character, Ray, drive, and then he's being drunk and being stupid and like standing out the sunroof of the car and distracting everybody, and then Ray ends up hitting a dude while driving down the road. They think he's dead, so what they choose to do is dump the body. And I think it is genuinely creepy to have the characters, you know, get a little message. When Julie, who is the main character played by Jennifer Love Hewitt, when she gets that first card that's like just her name on it, and then you open it and it says, "I know what you did last summer," that's fucking terrifying, dude. So I think the setup is really fun, and I think it's pretty iconic, somewhat original idea. Another thing that kind of makes this movie fun is the fact that it's set in, I believe it's called Southport. It's like a very small fishing village. The setting really gives this movie a personality. You really feel like this is a genuine, like, small town that has like its one thing. You know exactly what it is, and it kind of helps add to the vibes here. And even characters help add to the vibe. Like, Ray is just a dude that's like, he doesn't have money, and he kind of ends up becoming that guy that just stays where he grows up, and he does fishing. There's nothing wrong with that. Let me say that. There's nothing wrong with that. But it is like that type of character that you've seen in real life. And even the small characters, like the red herring characters, they really add a lot as well. Sarah Michelle Gellar has a sister who I didn't even know was a sister at first. They bicker all the time, and Sarah Michelle Gellar is an interesting character in general because she's that like small town girl that has a dream of like making it big and doing something cool. She's winner of the beauty pageant or whatever it is in this movie. She wants to go out and move to New York and become an actor. And then we see that kind of failed, and it has truly kind of broken her in a way because she feels like a failure. And so I like these little minor things that kind of help add personality to this movie, because otherwise it very well could have been a flop. Then the twist is that the guy that they hit didn't actually die. He was a killer. He just got done killing some guy. And so for some reason, he waits a whole year to start going after these kids. It's a little weird because the reveal is like, oh, it's some fucking old guy that I've never seen before. It's not the most effective twist. Like, the red herring of Ray being like potentially the killer is more interesting than the killer just being, his name is Ben Willis. It's a fine movie, and I would recommend watching it. So it's time for the next movie.
You did something to the screen. It said, what are you talking about?
And now we have I Still Know What You Did Last Summer from 1998. So this movie, I think it's still fun, and I think it's still enjoyable. Like, to be entirely real with you, I don't necessarily enjoy the first one that much more than this movie. I do think that the first one has like a general better composure to it, whereas this movie is a little more generic and follows more of the genre's tropes. But it is still like a fun movie, and I think in some ways it has a little bit more aspects to it that are kind of of like dumb fun. This movie decides to have Freddie Prinze Jr. and Jennifer Love Hewitt return as Ray and Julie, and they're pretty much the only reason I care about anyone at all. So there's that. Julie is in college now. She's doing a little bit better. It's coming up on the anniversary of, last summer, which is July 4th. I don't think I mentioned that before, but this is technically a holiday movie. But it's coming up on the anniversary and she's having nightmares. Ray is still at Southport fishing. That's his job. They're having some struggles because Ray feels to some degree that she abandoned him, but she's like, I can't go see you at Southport because it's too traumatic for me to go there. It's a mess that doesn't really matter, honestly. So, whatever. Part of what made the first one good is that Southport is like a whole thing and it's the basically entire setting. And this movie trades that out for some tropical island, supposedly in the Bahamas, during storm season. I was kind of disappointed that they moved away from Southport because Southport has so much like history and personality. But this place, also pretty good. I like that it actually feels like it has its own character. Like, I think it being during storm season where tourists aren't really there anymore and it's just these interesting characters that are running the place because they have to while no one is there is kind of fun. They all add their own little slice of life to the movie is what I'll say. And like I said, this movie kind of falls back on more of the slasher tropes where it follows a very similar pattern. This one adds a whole bunch of characters just to bump up the kills. And I will say that the kills in this movie are actually better. There's a little bit more gore. There's a little bit more uniqueness to them. It is, I think, mostly still all just hook kills, but they are at least done in more interesting ways. And then, like I said, this movie and the previous one kind of fall right into the peak influence of Scream. We definitely see that here because there are two killers. It's not just one fisherman. The second killer is a guy named Will. He's the guy that kind of pretends to, well, maybe he actually does, but he pretends or does have a crush on Julie. And Julie's like, yeah, but I don't like you. I love Ray. Even though we're kind of fighting right now and it's not great between us, I still love Ray. So Will ends up being the secondary killer, which isn't surprising at all. Also, his name is Will Benson, Will Ben's son. And if you know the name of the killer, Ben Willis, you're like, oh, so you just flippy dippied the name. Was this supposed to be shocking? Was this supposed to be surprising at all? I don't know if they include Will as like a red herring sort of character or if he's meant to kind of be a little bit more suspicious, because there's also another red herring character that's name is Estes. So I feel like Will is just, you're meant to genuinely trust him. And I'm like, but why the fuck would I ever trust this guy? And then when Will kind of reveals himself as being in on it, he does his damnedest to do like a Stu and Billy impression. It's kind of fun. Obviously, it is what it is, but it is fun. And it's probably the first time I care about Will as a character is when he actually is revealed to be the killer. I didn't really like him beforehand. The other killer is Ben Willis. He survived, I guess. And then they also make some weird decisions where apparently this random island is where Ben Willis is originally from, and so he used to work at the resort that they're at. Also, Will is Ben's actual son, and they say that Ben has a son and a daughter. I'm kind of hoping we see the daughter. Maybe. I think it'd be cool. The other main characters, there's Carla, who's Julie's like best friend. She's interesting because she is a good friend to Julie in some ways, where she genuinely like believes Julie and is there to support her. But also she's a little bit pushy and makes her do stuff that is just kind of like uncomfortable for Julie. So I'm like, okay. And then Carla has a boyfriend named Tyrell, and I don't care for Tyrell at all. He's just there to be horny. I don't think there's ever a moment where he's not talking about wanting to have sex with Carla or not like being upset about being like blue-balled. And then Julie is good again, of course. And Ray, he's not in this movie that often. He's kind of off doing his own stuff for a while. He shows up at the end to be a hero of sorts, but whenever he's on screen, I like him because it's Freddie Prinze Jr. And then there are a bunch of side characters that are added for kill fodder. One of them is Jack Black. He's a stoner and he has locks. So there's Estes, which is like the red herring character. He's some guy that's doing voodoo to help protect the kids, basically, even though they're in college. I don't know why I'm calling them kids. There's a girl, like a bartender, and she's pretty cool. I like her a lot. She gets the kill from Friday the 13th where like there are two people pinned on top of each other and it gets pushed through both of them. That's what happens to her. She was a great character for what little she had, and I was kind of upset when she died. And then fucking Jeffrey Combs is here. Jeffrey Combs is like the resort owner or manager or whatever. He's incredible, like always. I mean, Jeffrey Combs is just great in general, but he adds his screen presence is so overwhelmingly good that whenever he's there, I'm just captivated because he does such a good job of playing a very believable character in like a somewhat over the top way. Like I said, it's generic in ways, but also there's fun to be had. And honestly, I think that's all I have to say about the movie. And now it's time to talk about the next movie.
Whoa, Amber, you want to freak everyone out?
What are you guys talking about?
The Fisherman.
And now we have I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer from 2006. Oh, this one's genuinely awful. Right off the bat, one of the key aspects that made the previous two movies enjoyable was the characters. Now again, in the second one, it was primarily just Julie and Ray. But this one, there are no characters that are good. I don't fucking care about any of them. I don't think any of them are really enjoyable to watch. There are some that are straight up annoying, like the douchebag ex-boyfriend character. And then there are other characters that are just fucking there. And a lot of times they'll make stupid decisions. Like it doesn't really matter to me what happens to them because they're nothing and they don't really have a personality, which is a problem. In a slasher, you at least want some characters you care about. The problem also is that this movie just kind of copies the first one, which I already have a problem with because it just bothers me when movies can't be original. This one copies the original in so many ways and fails at doing so. The main characters, there's like the douchebag aggressive asshole. There is the guy that is, kind of the lover guy that ends up helping. And then there's the girl, the best friend girl who wants to be famous and is trying to do things to get recognized. And then there's the main character, which at least had some personality in the first movie. This one, no. And then there's also the problem that this movie is just hard to watch. And I mean that literally. The movie looks bad. There's like weird angles. There's like terribly distracting and stupid like close-ups on people's faces. There's really bad dream sequences. There's flashing lights. There's like long takes that don't need to be there. And then the editing is somehow even worse. Ooh, it's so bad. They try and do kind of like a glitchy, like weird, cutty, supernatural type of thing. It made me want to turn off the movie at various points. So it's pretty bad. This movie also doesn't take place in Southport. It takes place somewhere in fucking Colorado. It doesn't even really connect to the first two movies. It does, because the fisherman is still Ben Willis, but I don't know why. So Ben Willis is a supernatural zombie in this one. I'm not joking. He fucking teleports, is unkillable, just does stupid stuff. His eyes glow at some point. It's pretty bad. And then for some reason he can only be hurt by a fishing hook, but it's not even his own fishing hook. It's just like the one that they used in the beginning of the movie to do a prank. So I don't know why that is the only thing that can hurt him. But also it's not the only thing that can hurt him, because there's also like I don't know if it's a snow blower or like a wood chipper type of thing that he gets pushed into at the end. Yeah, so that just is able to hurt him apparently because the movie needs to end. Even the setting, you know, could be interesting because it's another like kind of small town type of thing, but for some reason like they just keep switching locations constantly, and it really takes away from this whole thing because it doesn't feel like a unified place anymore. Like there's a ski resort in summer, still 4th of July. Some guy is fixing the ski lift for some reason. They're just out in the mountains sometimes. They're at some random barn. There's a carnival at the beginning of the movie, which is where they play the prank. And then at the end of the movie, they're back at the carnival, question mark? I can't tell because it's meant to be a 4th of July celebration, which is, I'm pretty sure what the carnival in the beginning was, but this one is just an entirely different place. So I don't know what the fuck that's all about. And the plot is pretty ridiculous. The first movie, it made more sense to me. These kids hit some random guy and they don't want to ruin their lives and be culpable for it, so they throw away the body, right? That makes sense to me. In this movie, the kids do a prank where one of them pretends to be the fisherman and chases a guy who is supposedly in on it, I'm pretty sure. And then the guy that's getting chased dies because some landing pads they put got moved and was replaced by like a tractor or something. So he falls on a tractor and gets impaled. So you're telling me that the guy that died was in on it. So it doesn't make as much sense to hide it because it technically wasn't even your fault because he wasn't actually running away from you. He was acting, and it's not like any of them moved the stuff. Like, obviously, I think they would get in trouble, but to me, it's not like a big thing where like you would have to hide it, but they decide to hide the fact that they were behind the prank anyway. I don't really understand it. It's kind of a mess. They do a lot of things where they just repeat the same stuff from the first movie where, you know, they have the whole conversation and they make them repeat the words like, I won't ever, like, I'll take this to my grave or something like that, whatever the line is.
The secret dies with us.
They all agree way too fast in this one. It's, you know, supposed to be like, oh, I don't know, so I actually empathize with some of them. That doesn't really happen here. Also, this movie is completely averse to saying anything other than last summer. There are so many times where they could say, you know, last year or last 4th of July or anything that is a variable of that. Instead, every single time they say last summer, I'm like, I fucking get it. That's the name of the movie. That's the name of the franchise. I don't need to be reminded every fucking time. And it happens like constantly it is being said. And I'm like, I know. I understand. So yeah, this is a dumb movie that I would not recommend watching. It's not even enjoyable in a bad way. It's just bad. All right, now it's time to rank these movies. And that's not going to be difficult. So I'm just going to list them off real quick. At last place is I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer. It's a genuinely awful movie that I did not enjoy. Oh, I didn't say this about it, but it at least has good kills. The gore is kind of fun. There's some decent kills. Some of them are more original than just a hook kill, but usually it's just a hook kill, but in a more interesting way. So I appreciated that about it. That's, I think, the only thing I liked about the movie. So you got that going for you at least. And then coming in at second place is I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. Yeah, it's still a fun movie. I would recommend watching it. Honestly, if you're looking for a dumb, fun movie, I would recommend the second one over the first a little bit. But, you know, the first one is still better. But yeah, I Still Know it's okay. It has more tropes. It has more kind of generic bits to it. The characters aren't as good or enjoyable. Yeah, it's kind of silly, kind of goofy. And then first place is I Know What You Did Last Summer. Duh. Yeah, it's still not the best movie ever made. It's not the best slasher ever made, but it is enjoyable. The characters, the cast is phenomenal. The killer's pretty fun. I don't like the twist at the end. It's an enjoyable watch. If you haven't seen it before, I would recommend it. Like, if you're gonna watch the new one that's coming out, for sure, watch the first one. Maybe even watch the second one. At least those have characters that will be in the new one. So, you know, you get to learn some of the lore and see what's going on. So, yeah, The franchise as a whole, I think it's fairly okay. Obviously, there's the one movie that sucks ass and should be deleted from history. But as a whole, you know, the first two movies, I think they're fun and I would recommend them. I had fun watching them. Thanks for watching. I hope you're having a fantastic day. What's your favorite slasher movie? What is your favorite movie in this franchise? I would be surprised if it's not the first. And also, do you like I Always Know? Do you like that movie? I'm curious to know why. So yeah, thanks for watching. Have a fantastic day. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.